Hi, me again. Couple of things real quick. I just wanted to point out a couple of things for informational purposes. We're about 24 hours late on this. I usually do these in the morning on Mondays. And the idea of me disabling comments is more about people, just throwing up, you're a douchebag, in the comments section. And that's on YouTube. On Facebook, they're completely open. If you want to look for me on Facebook, I'm over there as Gregory Maitland. However, I do keep saying, feel free to comment, feel free to comment. If you are on YouTube and you somehow stumble on to this blog and you actually want to participate, I'm not excluding you. If you send me a private message, I'll be more than happy to treat it like a message that I got on Facebook, and again, no question is taboo. You just want to make sure to list whether it's ask a scientist, ask a psychologist, or ask somebody about StarCraft 2. Um, in addition to that, I do want to thank everybody for their who took the time to post nice comments about the bad day I was having yesterday. But it's really nice to find out who your friends are and stuff. In terms of our questions, we're going to jump right on it. This one is actually, I wanted to get to this one first because a good friend of mine actually posed this question. That's Mark. Mark was wanting to know what's the deal with 2010 and I'm sorry, not 2010, 2012, and what's my opinion of it. Um, Simply put, that's two questions, not one. Scientifically speaking, what's the hubbub about 2012? And in a word, it's superstition. Um, we look for end times all the time. We are creatures of fear, and we're looking at any opportunity to jump. And there are times when there are real dangers, and there are times when there aren't. This is one where I really don't believe that there is. There is something inherently wrong about the idea of looking at a culture who didn't possess the technology of a wheel and going, hey, you know, they're saying the world's going to end at this point. Technically, they're not. Their calendar will start over at that point. They'll enter into a new calendar. And that's actually where science steps in. There is a lot of talk of the end happening right around 2012 from different cultures, and that's what gives it credence. Uh, to be honest, people are using different meanings of the word end. They're talking about the end of an age. We're leaving the age of Pisces and going into the age of Aquarius in terms of astrology. Not astronomy, astrology. In terms of the houses of the zodiac as they line up in the stars. The around the time of Jesus, there was a lot of looking for Messiah because they were supposed to be leaving an age at that point. They were going from the age of the ram to the age of the fish. Now we're looking at going into the next age, and that's usually a sociological thing at best from their point of view. They're not talking about the destruction of man. They're talking about, well, the passing of time and new ages for man. Even in the Hopi one, the Hopi prophecy is the one that I like the best, which is at that point we get to make a decision based on where we are, on choosing to be good or choosing to be bad, and that's pretty much like every day. Now, in terms of what's my opinion is that there is a chance. There's a projected supermassive solar storm in 2012, right around the time period that all this is going on, and it fits way too well for me to ignore. Um, just to speak on that for a moment, a big ball of fire and electromagnetic energy is going to come from the sun. Now, NASA predicted it and then came back and said, oh shit, we were wrong by a factor of 40. And that will just maybe fuck with us a lot with the way we are now. Um, the reason I don't think it's going to cause any physical damage is because it's happened before, recently, as far as geological time goes. I've actually got the year written down here. Yeah, in 1859 was the last time that we had one. At that point, the mystery was based on all the telegraphs just going out at the same time worldwide. And that was because we had a got my tongue tied, a positive polarity supermassive solar flare at that point. Um, what that means is we got an electromagnetic pulse worldwide. And at the time, really, one of the few things that we were dealing with was a telegraph. And that really threw a monkey wrench into those. We are a lot more dependent on electricity now. So at this point, we would be looking at being thrust back maybe 100 years. There, if you do a search for supermassive solar flare, they'll talk about it. They'll talk about the possible effects. But even then, if that happens as predicted by NASA, not by me, not by somebody with jade in their teeth, not somebody who, sticks a stingray's tail through his tongue while burning incense to predict the future. When NASA's predicting this, we have a 50-50 shot. And with that, you're looking at whether it's positive or negative polarity. If it's positive polarity, I may be wrong on this and getting it reversed, but the basis is still there. If it's positive polarity, we lose all electricity until we replace all the transformers because they will blow the hell out. Um, if it's negative polarity, nothing. Nothing will happen. We'll get a light show in the sky, tops. Basically, an aurora borealis that extends all the way to the equator. Now, the thing is, that kind of fits in with a lot of things too, and it's really sort of convenient, and it's really sort of nice, because the Mayans' god of creation was a snake in the sky, a winged serpent. Anyone who has been fortunate enough to see the aurora borealis knows that it's a serpentine shape in the sky, and it's every color that you can imagine, and it's just gorgeous. It's as close as you can probably get to a religious experience from a light show. But at the same time, you also have to factor in that the Aboriginal god of creation from Australia and the New Zealand area is the rainbow serpent, which is a snake of every color you can imagine. So at that point, there's a mythical basis and there's a possibility. But even then, no one's certain. And if you are going to spend every day living like tomorrow may be the last, you need to take the first 2 or 3 hours and make funeral arrangements. So, worst case scenario, from my opinion, is we lose electricity until they replace all the transformers, which will take about a year. Doesn't sound that bad until you realize what we need electricity for, which is everything, and how dependent we've become on it, and just it's just really a potentially bad situation. But at that point, it wouldn't be destroying us. What would be destroying us is our reaction to it. I used to work for the power company. I worked for them when we had a hurricane, and I've seen what happens to people when they don't have power for a week. They turn into absolute animals. So, yeah, there's a possibility, and I'm willing to acknowledge that. But for that to happen, what would have to occur is we would have to have the supermassive solar flare. It would have to be positive polarity. It would have to be severe enough to have all these effects that everyone's worried about. And then we would have to react badly enough to just completely throw off all civilization and go all Mad Max on each other. Um, that's pretty much what would have to happen. In terms of that, do I think that's a certainty? No, I don't. Um, is it something where I think people should take action? Every action I can think of that we could take would be to our benefit anyway. And they've already started doing a lot of it. And some of the smart grid technology that they've come out with is actually capable of closing down entire sections of the grid in emergency situations in under 2 minutes. And we're going to have 8 minutes warning. So, I'm not as worried about it as I probably would be if I had never worked for the power company. In terms of the poles shifting and the tectonic plates slamming into each other, and basically John Cusack trying to save us all, that's not going to happen. Um, and I have a very serious reason for that. I don't like the term end of the world. There is no such thing as the end of the world. There's the end of humans. Now, will the end of humans happen eventually? Yeah, sure it will. There are so many extinction events, mass extinction events, that it's hardly funny. We've been able to find at least 8 mass extinction events with distinct proof. Uh, Another one's eventually going to happen. It's going to wipe us out, but the world will continue. It'll shake us off like a bad virus, and the only thing that'll be left to prove that we were ever here is the existence of plastic. I'm okay with that because, well, we had a good run. In terms of, am I worried? No, no, I'm not. I don't worry about things that I can't help, and that's not a very scientific view. It's more one I got from Shakespeare. That which is without resolve should be held without regard. Um, if you wanted to know personally what I think everybody should do if you're worried about 2012, stockpile some non-perishable food. You can eat it in 2013 and laugh at yourself. Uh, get yourself some solar panels if you're able to. Get a wind turbine if you're able to. Worst case scenario, 2013 rolls around, you still got a low power bill. Ooh, yeah, but don't start, killing yourself or quitting your job or planning for the end, because, well, we're good at predicting immediate events in terms of things that we can see, touch, and taste, but anything outside of that, it's a lot of guesswork and it's a lot of observation, and we've only been observing this stuff for a very short period of time. The Mayans, yeah, I respect them as a people in history, but you have to remember that no matter how advanced their civilization was, if you showed up with a walkie-talkie, you'd be the next god. So I hope that answers your question, Mark. If it doesn't, I'm really sorry, and just write me and let me know, and maybe we can specify a little bit on it. And I don't really mean to belittle anyone's beliefs on this, but if your belief is fucking silly, expect it. Um, if anyone has any interest on the supermassive solar flare, just shoot me a note. I'll send you a thing on the Discovery Channel special on supermassive solar storms. I can even find you a clip of Michio Kaku talking about it and the possible effects of it, and the fact that a smart grid would pretty much take care of it. So yeah, that's about it. And if you're really worried about it, one thing you can do is you can go over to exoticenvy.com and pick up one of those really cool solar-powered vibrators. That way, world may be falling apart around you, but at least you're getting your freak on. And that's exoticenvy.com, our sponsor. Blah blah blah. So that's about all I've got for right now. I need to start working on the next one. So have a good one. Try to be nice to each other.